Hello there and welcome back to another video here on the NeuroSpicy channel. Today we're going to be talking about a book called Pitch Dark by Courtney Alameda. And this is a fantastic book, especially if you're just getting into reading and into sci-fi and horror. It is a sci-fi action horror with a bit of romance scattered in and out of it. And it is a very good book overall. And, I can't wait to read a lot more of what she's got in the future. But let's talk about this book. So I do recommend this book. This book is fantastic. It's a solid 8 out of 10 overall. And it does leave it open for more content in the future from this world or universe, however you want to describe it at the end. And especially at the very end of the book, it's got a section called The Author's Notes. And it basically describes how she went around writing this book, and it's very interesting. Also, it enhances the book overall, adding in the elements that she did, because she struggled with her relationship of mixed European and Mexican heritage since she was a child, and how she was, and how she was supposed to check certain boxes like Hispanic or white, and which one she decided to choose and such, and then embracing stuff, and then embracing it all, and then making this entire book over 4 years and changing names and stuff scattered in and out. And it was just a great overall edit to the book, and you can see how she sort of layered and structured the book and remaking it overall, which is actually pretty interesting. But let's just talk about the actual book rather than why it was made. Talking about the book a bit more in depth without spoiling a single thing. So the book overall has a good story. It's even the ending's pretty good, which leaves it to be an 8 out of 10 solid book. And the characters, Laura and Tuck, are pretty damn good. And I really like the way that it does it, where it sets it in the character's perspective. So if I go to a page here, it says time, ship, place in the ship, date and exact time. So, and then it says character's name. So it says Tuck here, and then it's all from Tuck's perspective. And then later on, it'll go back to Laura. So, it'll go on for a bit, and it'll go to Laura's perspective, so it keeps switching between Tuck's and Laura's perspective, which is really good because it shows a lot more and how they feel at the time and such. And I think that's a really good way to structure a book, rather than having, I picked up a book. In fact, let me go get it. I picked up a book from charity shop not that long ago, like a couple of days ago. And this thing has, God, how many chapters? I mean, page 320, we're already on 72 chapters. It's apparently a horror story, but it's called The Cottage. And, some of these chapters are literally, chapter 2 is 1, 2, 3, 4 pages long. And then it's chapter 3. What is these chapters? That's not how you structure chapters, man. So, really good way of structuring chapters here in Pitch Dark. Get yourself a copy, because this book's really good. I don't really want to say much more without spoiling it. So there's going to be spoilers next in this next section, which is going to be spoilers about the entire book, more or less. So, just what I liked and such. So the basic story of the book is that there's 2 main characters, Laura, which is pronounced Laura, not Laura. It's pronounced Laura, and Tuck, and they're sort of divided between centuries. So what I mean by that is that Tuck was born 400 years ago, more or less, and boarded a ship which was jettisoned out into space, and then they got put into stasis, and that stasis lasted 400 years over the however long it was supposed to last. And Laura is a new ship who's coming to find that ship for its vital resource, which is the Yosemite National Park, which is, all the soil and everything, because apparently all the soil and such and the lost lot of bacteria makes colonizing a different planet after Earth has been completely destroyed by various reasons. I'm trying to just get the basics, not the deep in of the book here. So that's the basics. So that's our 2 main characters. Now, Laura ends up coming to the USS John Muir, which is the name of the ship that Tuck is on. Tuck is woken up, and apparently a ton of the crew of the John Muir has become mutated and turned into creatures called mourners, um, because they make loud sounds that makes them sound like they're crying or wailing, so they're called mourners. It's actually very good creatures that they made because they're like kind of like a quiet place where the creatures are drawn by sound, and if you say a single word, they will hunt you, which is very nice. I do like that, where you can't have to be really quiet, and it really does it justice in here with the monsters there, because apparently because the John Muir is really dark and there's not that much power, although there is power scattered around and light scattered around, but the creatures have become used to the darkness, so they hunt with it with sound and such, and they don't have eyes or they can't see and such. It's a very unique. Well, it's not unique creature, but it is a very unique way of telling the creature in the story and the way that they've been sort of mutated. Going a bit more in depth into the book, I really liked the I really liked most of the stories and the characters. They really played it well. The only part I didn't really fully like was the fact that they killed off a character called Holly, because obviously this is spoilers. You should have seen a spoiler warning just before this, so your fault. Watch out for those spoilers. There's a character called Holly that gets killed off, and I really liked Holly because she was sort of like the innocent, nice girl, and killing her off like that. Obviously, she wasn't made for that kind of environment where you have to be tough and hard. But the way that they killed her off isn't even that she was like too cowardly or anything. She just sort of died. Like when the okay, so another big spoiler in the book: the Conquistador, which is the name of the ship that's coming, where Laura is on board, comes to the USS John Muir, but it crashes into it via a plot that makes by this group called Pitch Dark, which wants to stop humanity from colonizing another planet, basically kill humanity, which big thing there, but yeah, so the Conquistador, which is the name of the ship Laura's on, crashes into the John Muir, which sends the because both Holly and Tuck are out looking or going to look and repair something, I guess. Get the trams back online, I think it was. I'm just remembering off memory here, not actually looking at the book in a minute. Book's in my hand though. But they get hunted by mourners and they have to be quiet, so they have to get into a tram car and hide in there, and they buckle in at some point when the Conquistador hits, and then like the whole tram car gets flung and it falls down like 2 entire decks of the ship. And when Tuck wakes up, he's hanging down like that scene in Jurassic Park. I think it's Jurassic Park 3, where they're hanging down just over the edge of a cliff, more or less, and they have to climb up the seats, or the well, Tuck has to climb up the seats, but in Jurassic Park 3, they have to climb up the equipment to get back up on top. Yeah, that reminds me of that Jurassic Park 3. So that's pretty good. Also, the amount of references in this book are actually really interesting. There was a Doctor Who one in there and a couple others that I remember, but I'm not going to talk about them. I just want to scatter this in here just to say there's quite a few good references in here, and it actually makes me chuckle every time I see one. It's actually pretty cool. But yeah, so they have to climb up, and then obviously he doesn't see Holly. So where is Holly? Apparently, she got chucked and flung out of the tram. I guess she didn't get her seatbelt on in time or something. Don't know. It doesn't really go in depth about it, but she's just dead and dying there. And then Tuck has to finish her off because she's dying. Obviously, she's gonna die, and she doesn't want to die to mourners and that. So she ends up just dying. So Tuck has to finish her off. And she doesn't really get mentioned out throughout the book, but Tuck does say he doesn't want to go in depth on it because I can't remember exactly. But Tuck says he didn't want to go in depth on it and have to people remember her like that. So he ends up meeting Laura at some point, and then he's like, oh no, not another noob I've got to teach. And that's pretty interesting. So that's pretty funny, I should say. And then he's got to teach Laura how to survive. And I won't go in depth on everything, but you know, I don't want to go too deep into it. I do want you to read it. So, you know, it's just my review of it. If you've already read it, you know, just keep watching. But there's a whole plot, and Laura is pegged as the person who just crashed the Conquistador, even though she's the daughter of the person who runs the Conquistador. So there's that whole thing, and she's got this like tech in her neck that stops her from stops her from harming certain people, and she's like being subjugated. Basically, it's called the subjugator, and it basically stops her from being herself more or less half the time when she gets commanded by certain people to do things. And it's illegal tech, but it's like basically being a slave at that point. But you know, she wants her freedom. Basically, she wants her freedom back, and that's why she was there when the Conquistador crashed. And you know, I'm not trying to go too deep into it, but it's a really good story, and I'm not going to even say anything about the ending, but the ending's pretty damn good. That's why it's a solid 8 out of 10 book. And, you know, I say grab a copy. So my conclusions on the book, Pitch Dark, is that it's just a fantastic book. Good way to get back into reading. This is my first book getting back into reading. I got lots more books to read. So Pitch Dark was a solid read from the first choice. And you just got to get yourself a copy. Got to get yourself a copy. This book is great. And I think I might buy the other books that she's got just to see what they're like. They're not sci-fi. I don't think they're all sci-fi. She's got one called Shutter, which obviously is a horror book, but I don't think it's a sci-fi. And then I think she's got 1 or 2 other books. Let me Google right here. Yeah, she's got Shutter and 7 Deadly Shadows. This Shutter is about a girl who sees the undead, and 7 Deadly Shadows, she can see ghosts and demons that haunts the streets of Japan. So, obviously not a sci-fi, not the kind of book that I really like, which is science fiction. You know, space-borne science fiction. So obviously, I will read the other ones maybe, but not too soon. But the next book I'm probably going to read is going to be, let me get it. Probably going to be Sphere by Michael Crichton. Yeah, I'm probably going to read Sphere because I found the DVD Sphere, you know, by accident while I was looking for books in charity shop. So, you know, I got this a few weeks ago. I got this a couple days ago. So I'm thinking read this and then watch the movie and see how they compare, and that'll probably be the next video. But you'll have to give me a little bit until then. So, yeah. Definitely get a copy of Pitch Dark if you like books, like sci-fi, and you like something just to get back into reading. Any one of those, pick up a copy of Pitch Dark. Very good book. Just get it. Just get a copy.